All right, super excited to have Cam on here to chat. I connected with Cam a few weeks ago on LinkedIn, actually. I noticed we had a lot of kind of similar clientele. He now works for Cool Solutions out of Chambersburg. You guys pretty much do all things small business consulting, which
Yep.
is really, really neat. So Cam and I just decided to record this conversation because there's going to be I think a lot of value for small business owners, even some medium-sized businesses, I think could benefit from this. But Cam and I were talking about business valuation, how small businesses really a lot of times don't know the value of their business and maybe what the benefits would be if they knew the value of their business, or some ways, Cam will hopefully share some ways businesses can start to add to the value of the business, which I think is what I'm really curious about being a small business owner myself, is kind of learn some ways of how you guys kind of track that and how you consult your clients on how to kind of benefit their business value. So I guess
Yeah.
Cam, I'll hand it over to you if you want to give a quick intro for anyone who is watching this and just give a little bit about you and Cool Hole Solutions.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hosting this, Austin. I appreciate it. And always great to talk about all the things we got going on in business. But quick intro about myself. So I'm 24 years old, Penn State graduate in 2022. And as Austin said, now working as a business consultant at Cool Hollow Solutions. We're based out of Chambersburg, PA, but offer services nationwide to all sorts of business owners. But really, Cool Hall Solutions is focused on being a strategic partner with small to mid-sized businesses locally and nationally. And we really see the need for businesses in one of three different modes. So we're seeing one is growth mode. So companies that are looking to push the needle, level up, and grow in size in both revenue and people. Second is transition mode. So a company that is looking to eventually sell, transition to a family owner, whatever the case may be. We've been doing a lot of merger and acquisition activity lately, which has been cool. And the key point of our topic here being business valuations, that's where it really ties in for companies that are looking to sell or even buy a company. And then third is crisis mode. So not necessarily a financial crisis, right? But when we say crisis mode, we kind of think more about organizational crisis. So you just had a key employee leave, or you're navigating some sort of legal issue, or just a hurdle that you can't seem to quite get over as a business owner and your company as a whole. Um, but again, just trying to be a strategic partner with that business, build that trust, and be in their corner every step of the way with whatever goals that they have. So that's a quick review of myself and Cool Hollow Solutions.
Awesome. No, that's really cool. I think listening to the three different modes there, I mean, hopefully most people listening to this are in the growth mode. I feel like that's the positive takeaway from it, is like if you're in the growth mode, let's like keep tacking it on there. But obviously businesses go through many changes all the time where you guys can kind of come in and be that partner with them, which is really, really neat. I guess I'm thinking from my side and certainly my client side on the marketing piece is like, when is it ideal for small businesses? Because I can imagine a lot of times a small business, especially that's been in business for many, many years, probably isn't really thinking that much about like on a monthly or yearly basis, like how much is my business worth?
Yeah.
When is it kind of normal to start thinking about the valuation of the business, in your case, and maybe give some insight into like how small business owners can start to maybe plan to get that valuation? I'd be curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah, great question. First, I would say it is never too early to start thinking about how much your business is worth and where that value lies within your business. But if you know you're looking to sell your business at some point, whether in the near future, and when I say near future, it usually takes, if you want to do it right, probably at least a year, probably closer to 2 years, to really plan out a sell or taking your business to the market to be sold. So really never too early to start thinking about that. And we always usually say here, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. So understanding your profit and loss statement, understanding your top line revenue. Um, but back to your point of how a business is valued, it's not just financials, right? That plays a crucial role. Yes, whatever your net profit margins are, your top line revenue, that's super important. And you need to understand how to maximize that, especially when you're going to sell. But there's several other key components of how a business gets valued, and some of them being human capital. So the people that are involved in your business, right? Do you have a solid team in place, whether that be a CEO, a chief operating officer, no ever however small or medium sized you are, you can still put those sort of positions in place to make your business run effectively. And those are the people who are going to make it more attractive to a potential buyer, right?
Mm,
They're going to buy it from you, the business owner. Odds are the reason you're selling it is because you want to transition or do something else. So you're not going to be involved in the day to day, but they want to see that people are in the right seats in the company that they can then come in and keep that momentum flowing. The other is information capital. So any softwares that you have as a company, whether that's proprietary or bought, the systems and processes that you use, your products that you sell. That's a very important piece of how business gets valued. And then lastly, we really touch on physical capital. So if you have a warehouse with your business or you have a fleet of trucks, whatever the case may be, that's going to get tied into how your business is valued. And then to tie it all together, it goes back to the financials. So usually the valuation of a business comes from the net profit. Um, times a certain multiple, which varies by industry. So like you'll see a lot in the HVAC space, the multiple might be higher than a service-based industry like a consulting industry or something like that. The multiples vary based on what type of business it is, but usually they'll take your net profit times a multiple. Usually, I would say the average is maybe 3 to 5. So if you're doing $100,000 in net profit each year, you could expect your business to be sold anywhere between 300 to 500K. And like I said, there's tons of variables that go into that, but yeah, never too early, but it can be too late to start thinking about what your business is valued at.
yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, that's a lot longer timeline now. I mean, it makes a ton of sense. There's a lot that goes into it. Like you said, it's not just simply looking at a number and saying, "Hey, let's just take this number and run with it." I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. But you're saying you're talking at minimum maybe 6 months to a year to really start that process. But if you're looking to maybe exit or sell the business, I mean, it could be years. I mean, you could be talking 3, 4, 5 years, it sounds like, to go from the point of I decided to sell to actually finding a buyer and getting to the finish line, which I think that makes a ton of sense and not something I personally would have thought of. I would have probably thought, hey, I have a decent business. I'm ready to be done. I can probably exit out of here in the next month or two. But it's not as simple as maybe selling your car.
Yeah, well, that's a great point, and I'll add to that. Like, you can certainly take it to the market as quick as you want to, right? You could decide you want to sell your business and try and get it sold within a couple months, right? That's feasible. The point that we're making here, though, is that to harvest the value that you built, right? Most likely it's your most precious asset or most valuable asset that you have as the business owner. To really harvest what you built and get the most out of it, it's a long process, right? So we work with a lot of companies who come in, they say, "Hey, I know I want to sell." We're like, "All right, there's a couple things we got to work on. One is, getting the financials to where we know they can be. And then secondly, just the intangibles, like putting together SOPs, we call them, standard operating procedures, putting those in place within the company is going to make it more attractive to a seller. Just little things that you can tweak that's going to make the value of your business go up. So
Yeah.
uh, it can you can sell it as quick as you want, but to really get the most out of it, it's a process. And that's really what we try and do here for our clients.
Yeah, I mean that. I mean, I'm thinking too from my business and many other business owners I know is they started the business maybe themselves. They run the day to day. They probably don't have a really strict process for a lot of what they do. And when you get into SOPs, I mean, a lot of people think, oh, that's for bigger companies. But as I hear you talk, you're kind of saying, hey, like as someone new coming to buy the business
Yeah.
and you take that business owner out of the picture, if there's no processes in place, there's no guarantee that business is going to continue to run the way it has. So that I think that's like one of the big takeaways here for me is the time that you need to start thinking about this and how really this is as simple as starting to write things down. Like business owners could really just, as they're doing their normal day to day, taking notes, having these in documents so that when they do get to that point, that's kind of an easy win. Because I mean, if you've been in business 25, 30 years and you're exiting and now you have to go back and write that all down, it just seems like a ton of work that no one's going to want to do when they get to that stage. So I think that's
Yeah.
like a big takeaway for me.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's taking the business owner's brain and really just putting it down on a piece of paper and materializing it, right? Because odds are the small business or medium-sized business is successful because of the business owner's talents or skills or mindset or knowledge that he has. But if you're selling, that goes away when the business owner goes away,
Yep.
right? So putting that down on paper, making it as actually tangible for the potential buyer.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I was thinking too about how you said earlier the different kind of factors that go into the valuation. So there's the human capital, informational capital, and the physical capital. And I'm thinking from my side of the business of my business as well as my client's business. I mean, I don't get too much into like the financial consulting side. I stick more on the marketing side for sure. And it is an interesting concept because we don't really get in a lot of times to necessarily talking about the value of having a website or the value of traffic that comes into the website. A lot of times it just ends up all coming down to like revenue at the end of the day. But I'd like to get your take on this because you'd be viewing this from the outside, whereas obviously I'm biased, is a business that let's say maybe has a website but it was built 10, 12 years ago. They don't do anything with it. Maybe they get a few hundred people on there every month, but they're not tracking anything. They don't know how many leads they get from it compared to maybe that same industry or maybe even in the same town, a business that has a website that's a year old or 2 years old and they get 2 or 3 thousand people to their site every month and they have a system in place to see that traffic and who's converting into leads for them. I guess walk me through how you would look at that on your side of valuing that when you are working with a business that's trying to sell.
Yeah, great question. I mean, websites are often the first impressions that the business gives to consumers out there, right? Everybody's going online and they're searching for whatever the case may be, and oftentimes the first thing that comes up is the company's website. And if it's outdated and not optimized to produce the leads or convert on the leads that it's supposed to, but your competitor has a new updated website. It's brilliantly put together where it's converting people. It's putting them in the pipeline where they need to be and bringing them value. There's going to be a wide gap there in terms of the value for the business, and I see it in kind of two different scenarios, right? So like if a company's going to if someone's going to buy a company, right, they're either gonna keep it operating under the same name, right? They're gonna just keep it how it is. They're gonna operate it, under the same current company name that it is. Or second, they're gonna roll it into an existing company that they have,
Mhm.
right? So like one of the things that we see a lot is the website matters either way, right? If you're gonna buy the company and operate it as it is right now, you want that website to be clean and optimized. Otherwise, you're gonna have to pour money into it to get it to where you want it to be.
Mhm.
And on the flip side, if you're rolling it into a company that you already have, oftentimes people buy the web, make sure they get the website and the URLs, and they just embed those into their own website, so that if anyone goes up and searches, the company that they just bought, it's going to redirect them to their website. So
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure with your experience and with loading leads and everything like that, you can certainly attest to the value in embedding URLs and making sure SEO is optimized and the overall value of a good website. So
Yeah, I mean, you're more in the weeds than I expected from the digital marketing side, Cam. So I'm impressed. But it's yeah. I mean, when you get into redirect, I think that's something people don't think about a lot of time. And I notice this a ton is businesses do exit, and maybe these are businesses that don't even get to the point of reaching out to someone like Cool Hollow for guidance, or I mean, they might literally just shut down the business because they're kind of done. They're retired, they're done, they didn't sell it. And then they let that website just kind of go. They just let it expire. They stop paying their domain. And I think what a lot of people don't think about is there's a ton of value to having a website that's been around for years and years. Even if it's not an updated website, just having that name, abcplumbing.com or something, and you've had that domain for maybe 20 years, there's a lot of value in that businesses don't think about because it is a valuable domain. They may actually have traffic coming there, even if they didn't necessarily try to get it. So just letting that go away. I mean, businesses could still sell that as a standalone. They don't have to sell the business. Other plumbers in that example would pay to buy that website because, to your point, they can redirect that to their own business. So that was something you brought up that I wasn't thinking about at the time, but is a good point to bring up for businesses that are like, I'm a one-man operation. I'm not really trying to cash out and sell this business. But as they're liquidating, like a website is something that does have physical value. And I guess in your breakdown there, I mean, that would be physical capital. Like having that would be just, I mean, obviously not to the value of probably owning a piece of real estate, but it would fall under that category if I'm understanding kind of your breakdown properly, correct?
yeah, it's an asset, plain and simple. It's an asset of your company, and you touched on a great point there too. Even if you're not looking to really sell your business formally, right? If you're just looking to dissolve your company or transition out, there's still competitors out there who would pay for just your
Yeah.
website if it's put together properly.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to sell your customer list, or you just want to get out as quick as you can, perfect. But a well put together website, someone will pay good money for that, whether you're trying to do it or not.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
perfectly.
it's interesting. My brain's kind of going in that direction. But now that we're talking about, I mentioned like a one-man operation who's kind of exiting. I guess that leads me to a question to you, Cam, for you guys at Cool Hollow, or really just in general, I guess, a business that is very small. Maybe it's a one-man operation or one or two people, and hey, they're 60, 65, 70. They're like, hey, I've been doing this my whole life. I'm ready to be done. I'm not really looking to do this elaborate transition. I maybe do a few 100,000 a year or something. Like, are these are these business owners people that should be calling you guys and talking through this? Or is it like, hey, you guys really are working with businesses that are doing several $1 million a year? Who is that, like, who should be reaching out to you?
Yeah, great question, Austin. Again, we work with companies of all sizes. So if you're a one-man show, or whether you got 100 employees and you're doing, 9 figures, in annual revenue, it does not matter. We are here to just be a strategic partner, with the business owner, provide value where we can. And I would almost argue that it's the smaller companies that benefit, even more than the larger ones, right? Whether they're just trying to get off the ground running. What we see a lot, because we do work with a lot of startups, and we do, entity structures and tax planning from startups and one-man armies all the time. But the other thing that we see a lot is that if you're a one-man show right now, doesn't mean you're always gonna be. And
Yep.
if you want to be just a one-man show, that's perfectly fine. Everybody has their own, aspirations and goals, but odds are if you're passionate and you're trying to grow your company, you're gonna need to bring on some people at some point. And so that's really where we come in as well, is helping you put together a team and navigate that, because I we always say that the first employee is the hardest to hire than the 100th, right?
Yep.
So understanding how and where to put people is essential to growing a company as well. So yeah, it's from startups to much larger companies. There's things. The good thing about Cool All Solutions is we have several team members, so we have specific areas that um, we are really good at. We're all good at the whole gamut, but there's areas where we focus in, and that depth really helps us tailor our solutions to the company based on how big or how small they are.
Yeah, that is really neat. I like the structure that you guys had. I mean, we've talked about this before, how you guys kind of have your specialties within the business. And as you were talking there, I was thinking too about how you mentioned the smaller business sometimes can benefit or oftentimes benefit even more, which in my mind, it makes a ton of sense because these businesses, especially if they're really small, that business owner has their specialty. Just like you had mentioned, you guys have your specialties. I mean, we'll just keep using the plumbing example. I mean, if I'm a plumber, I'm a plumber. So you're now finding that just talking to you, I'm learning a lot. And like I specialize on the marketing side. So it's like, well, if that business owner is looking to exit or looking to grow, even probably more so looking to grow, if they're bringing in these partners that excel in these different areas, there's so many areas for them to improve on because it's unlikely that that business owner is going to be an expert in many things necessarily outside of plumbing. So bringing in someone like Koala Solutions or someone on the marketing side or whatnot to really help fill those gaps, that would really improve the value of the business from a standpoint of having it becomes more of an organization than, hey, I'm a one-man plumbing operation. Now I'm an actual organization. I have SOPs, I have software to do all my tracking, I have a really solid sales process and follow-up process, which I know you guys would help with a lot of that, which would add a ton of value to a small business looking to either grow or looking to exit, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. What we see a lot is like these smaller companies are, well, let me back up. So to your point, it's impossible to be good at everything business related, right? So to go back to the plumbing scenario, they're going to be really good at plumbing. That's why they started a business. They like it. They're good at it. But when it comes down to maybe, I don't know, hiring or managing people, it becomes a difficulty or a challenge. And one of the cool things that we do at Cool All Solutions as well is we do personality assessments for all of our clients. So that's included in the engagement, and we're seeing more and more value in that. So we would run a personality assessment on the owner, and oftentimes some of their higher level employees. And based off that, we can identify where they're going to be the most fulfilled, enjoy the work, and excel at it the most, and what type of role should be developed based on that. So even if you're a one-man team, we can run that, and we're going to see where you will probably falter as your business grows. So if you're not really keen to being detail sensitive or paying attention to detail, right? We know that we need to hire someone eventually who has that character trait, who can fill that gap. Um, so yeah, just one of the cool things that the small businesses benefit from that you think only larger corporations would benefit from. Like the other thing I wanted to touch on too was a mission statement and core values
Mhm.
and culture, right? Like we see these huge corporations like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or, you name it, and they have mission statements, they have core values, they have a vision statement, right? And we think, oh, it's just me running, a construction company by myself. Why do I need that? Well, it lays the framework, right?
Mhm.
So to build it up, it's gonna keep you going in the right direction. It's gonna also be part of that first impression to the consumer, right? You throw that on your website, you let people know what your company and yourself is all about. So there's tons of things we could go on for hours of the things that sometimes small business owners overlook because they think, oh, I'm not big enough, or that's not really gonna benefit me. There's tons of things out there that we like to touch on.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys do so much. So I know we could talk. I mean, we've talked, I think, for hours on different topics and subjects relating to small businesses. I think to summarize here for anyone that's watching this, at least from my perspective, some of the takeaways here is like there are more that goes into valuing a business than just what the bottom line says. I think that is probably the big takeaway for me, and some ways to start to kind of attack that isn't necessarily just, hey, let's sell. Let's start going back maybe to the basics and start building out some organizational elements to my business, which wouldn't take a lot of investment. I think these are things that small business owners can do with just taking some time throughout their week, writing things down, like you said, building out kind of goals and mission statements, standard operating procedures, having kind of an having tracking, I think is big too, to know how things flow. Because if someone's buying a business, they want to know, well, how many calls do you get a week? How many jobs are you quoting? How many of those are you, what percentage are you closing out of those? Having all of that kind of written down and having notes, just to your point, is that's adding to that buyer is going to want to spend on a business that has that, as opposed to, oh, hey, I do 500,000 a year by my business. There's a lot more that goes into that. And I think my other big takeaway from a lot of this is really you can't be too small to benefit from doing these things. So whether it is reaching out to you to get further guidance, or just starting some of this on your own before they get to the point of reaching out to a consultant, a
Mhm.
one-man operation will likely benefit just as much. So I think anyone who's thinking, well, I don't need a business consultant, I don't need a marketing consultant, I don't need these partners because I'm a one-man or two-man show, is essentially false, from what you're saying and kind of what we're taking away from this. So I think this is really valuable stuff. I know just from our conversations, I always enjoy talking to you, Cam. And I hope that some businesses to reach out and ask you some questions, because you are a wealth of knowledge. I know the team at Cool Hollow Solutions is a wealth of knowledge. Um, I'm gonna drop your information when I share this. I'm not sure you'll do the same when you share it, but I'll make sure I have information in here to reach out and connect with you. But I guess before we jump off, because I know it's been about 30 minutes, I'm sure anyone who's watching this is probably like, all right, 30 minutes, time for lunch. Any, I guess, takeaways from your end, or I guess to summarize for any small business owners, or really, I mean, again, even a medium-sized business, or an executive could be watching this. I guess any summary for them to take away.
Yeah, no, thank you to everyone who's still listening. But the main takeaway is we really tried, I'll say it again, strategic partner, and a trusted strategic partner at that, right? We really take pride at Cool Solutions in how we treat our clients in the personal relationships that we develop with our business owners, right? So our business is not transactional, right? We're not here to close a sale. It's very much relational. We're here to open a relationship with the business owner and provide value wherever we can. And we're all passionate about that here at Cool Hall Solutions. So, another thing I'll touch on too is a lot might be hesitant to reach out or anything like that, being if they're kind of small, because what's the cost associated with bringing on partners like us or like yourself with a marketing agency. And I'll say, we tried to provide large and valuable solutions at a small business budget, right? And so we work intimately with the business owner. to see what works for them. Like I said, we're not here to close a sale. The business owner's success is our success, and that's the bottom line. That's all we're trying to do. You know, first meetings are always at no cost, just to have a conversation to see if it even makes sense of where we could help you. And I'm sure the same with you, Austin, over at Loading Leads. You know, we're just here to help. So don't hesitate to reach out at all. I appreciate you putting this together. It's been great and always fantastic talking with you as well. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on, Cam. I think it's all great. I think I love that ending there. I mean, helping, we're here to help businesses. I think that, I mean, that's literally why we're recording this. We're not getting anything out of this. It's purely, we were having this conversation the other day, and I said, Cam, we need to record this conversation because I've talked to so many people, you've talked to so many people that ask these questions, or even if they're not asking them, they have them in the back of their mind is like, well, am I too small, or what should I be doing to get more out of my business, or vice versa? How do I exit my business? So hopefully here the last 30-35 minutes, there's some takeaways for someone, and wherever this ends up getting shared, I mean, like you said, anyone can reach out to you to have a no cost conversation. Same with me. I love helping people and educating, because I don't like seeing businesses get taken advantage of. So feel free, reach out to either Cam or myself. You can drop comments. Like I said, wherever, I don't know where this is gonna end up getting shared, but drop comments and we'll get you some answers. So yeah, thanks so much, Cam, for jumping on. I'd love to do this again. So if anyone watching this did get anything out of it, like it, comment, give Cam and I some feedback, because we can, I know between his knowledge on the business consulting side and myself on the marketing consulting side, we would love to share knowledge with anyone who's interested. So awesome,
Yep.
Cam. Well, I'll let you get back to your day, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, Austin. Appreciate it.